In a complex and intertwined world, everything seems possible with the proliferation of media, advertising institutions, and information sources. However, this surplus of news and information has created a confusing reality regarding the credibility and verification of news and information. The danger in this context is that everyone now faces an overwhelming amount of writings, studies, and information claiming to be based on the latest research. Here comes the book, When Can You Trust the Experts? By Daniel T. Willingham, to assist people at various levels of education and knowledge in distinguishing between error and truth, and identifying scientific methods to differentiate between what is truly scientific and what is fabricated and false. When Can You Trust the Experts? By Daniel T. Willingham. This book talks about the difference between science and beliefs. It emphasizes something really important. We believe in things not just because they are scientifically supported, but also because they have secondary signals. Secondary signals are like traits related to things, situations, and issues that have nothing to do with the actual truth of the message we receive, like the speaker's charisma or the length of the message. The real problem when we receive news or information from different sources is that we don't realize how much these secondary traits impact the message. Sometimes we don't give them much weight as long as they convince us in some way. We don't evaluate the credibility of news and things we come across because we are biased and inclined to believe information that aligns with our previous beliefs. This forces us to use preventive mechanisms to protect ourselves from the danger of belief and avoid knowledge through the following two rules. 1. Recognize and pay attention to the secondary signals in any message trying to convince you. 2. Identify our current beliefs to avoid falling into BS. Bit to remember here is that there is a difference between belief and knowledge, and it's important to be aware of it when receiving messages. If there is a significant difference between science and belief, it will necessarily lead to the distinct characteristics of science compared to belief. Let's explore these distinctions here. Perhaps the first notable characteristic of good science is that it is dynamic, not fixed. This was extensively discussed during the European Enlightenment, where thinkers believed the world was changing, but their view of science remained constant. In this thinking pattern, nature is an open book that needs decoding, and scientific knowledge is considered final and absolute because the laws of the universe are definite as long as physics can penetrate the universe and its principles. The second aspect, a trait accompanying science, is its inherent openness to critique and subsequent correction. This means we shouldn't assume only that a scientific theory at a given time is temporary, but also that we have the ability to adjust, correct, and amend it at any historical moment. All of this contributes to the development and refinement of science, unlike belief, which remains static and does not progress. Bit to remember. Science is distinguished by two fundamental characteristics that set it apart from other forms of belief. We are all exposed to claims and illusions as intelligent beings navigating through this vast amount of information and news. Despite the development of the human mind over thousands of years, there are factors that lead us to believe many things based on weak, sometimes frivolous, and deceptive reasons. One of the main motivations that continuously drive us towards believing falsehoods is the unintentional confusion between science and belief, coupled with a lack of a good understanding of the nature of science. The book explains a set of practical methods through steps that help individuals evaluate the scientific validity of things, news, and information they come across. Some of the most important steps include stripping the claim, breaking down a claim to its basic components, flipping the claim, paying attention to decision-making methods. Claims not worth your time. Understanding the claim clearly. Bit to remember. Understanding claims and scientific deception relies on applying a set of practical steps. Despite the common use of the words expert and experts in daily media contexts, it doesn't mean we should trust everything said or woven against our minds randomly. We face a set of problems related to the shape of the knowledge we receive since our existence in this world. Firstly, as beings prone to error due to our certainty-based thinking, we often say, "I know what happens in this type of situation." This steadfastness in positions and resulting experiences leads to significant errors and makes us susceptible to constant claims. Secondly, there are other reasons that make our knowledge and experience susceptible to slip-ups, such as recalling past experiences or misinterpreting them. Because we are biased beings, these biases often expose us to errors and deception. This type of deception is called confirmation bias. What we want to emphasize after all this is that using our experiences and judgments to make general conclusions wastes our energy and makes us vulnerable to more wasted time, effort, and knowledge in the face of all the claims that confront us. To break free from the cycle of confirmation bias, there are ways to evaluate acquired experiences. Firstly, don't trust your memory if the situation is unclear. Secondly, use experiences to evaluate a proposed change. Bit to remember, our experiences and knowledge are prone to errors and deception, so it's essential to be mindful of our biases and previous beliefs.